KICKASSETS. Ching.
Well, here we are, folks. Welcome to Kick Assets. Yeah, so basically, I had a friend, a good friend of mine, point out the fact that somebody wrote an article about me. Japan Inside? Something like that. She forwarded it to me on Facebook, and yeah, it was a report on my life in Japan and my real estate stuff that they wrote without my consent or without talking to me. The article sounded okay, you know, a bit quick, clickbaity, just to get clicks and make money and views off it, I guess, but I just don't like how people do stuff without asking, you know. They never approached me, they never interviewed me, they never got all the facts straight. In fact, I don't even know where they got the information from. Maybe it's from my videos, maybe it's from my interview with Shu Matsu Post. I'm not sure. But anyhow, it's not right. You know, it could give me some exposure, obviously, which it could be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing. I mean, I want the exposure, but at the same time I don't want to get too big, so it's a double-edged sword there, because I just can't handle that many people. I mean, I try to keep my integrity 100%, and responding to every single comment or message or email I get from people, I try to keep it up. And at currently 3,400 subscribers, it's a lot of work. So I can only imagine when it gets more. I don't want anybody to ever feel like I'm ignoring them or something like that, because I'm not. I'm trying to do my best. I mean, obviously there's some guys that ask me too many questions and I don't have the time to answer all of them, and I just don't feel it's right anyway, because they're just taking advantage of my kindness. And sometimes I don't have the answers, but you know, I do like to respond and give the best I can for my viewers, you know. And I'm pretty transparent with all the stuff I do and say, but some people have to understand that I do need my privacy as well. It's like, how much of my life do I have to put out there? Like, enough is enough to trust me. Like, I don't ever want to be called shady or something like that. That's an insult to me, man, because I give so much information, more than I even should, to be honest. But I just hope people can see that through my videos, that I'm not hiding anything, or I'm not a car salesman in that sense, or clickbaity or whatever that stuff. I'm just making videos of my journey because somebody honestly asked me to. A lot of my friends like watching it, so it just took off from there. It wasn't my intentions at first, but this is what happened, so I'm just dealing with it and enjoying the ride, you know. I was enjoying living my peaceful life, having a few properties and, you know, living at my own pace, and I never expected anything more of it. But you know, one thing led to another, and boom. I mean, there was a point where I had 8 houses and I was happy stopping at 8, until one of my friends says, "No, you're not. You got to get more. You know you do. You're good at this. I'm living through you. You got to get at least 10. So that's why I got 10. And then, of course, because of 10, I made that 10 houses in 10 years video, or whatever I made way back, and that caught a lot of traction, and then I got people asking me to help them after I started working with Shu on a course as well, my boot camp. Just things spiraled, you know. I appreciate it, definitely appreciate it, but my main goal is to be happy in my own life, and this is not supposed to be work for me. It's just something I do because I enjoy it and my viewers enjoy it. So I don't want that to change ever, you know. And I will do, and that's the fact. I will always give my best when I help a client or something like that. So that means I can only take on so many at the same time. I don't want to half-ass anything. It's tough. So no, my video production and all this jazz is not going to get any better. than it already is. Who cares? I'm just being me. Try to be down to earth and hold some sort of integrity, you know, as a person. Am I perfect? No, but, you know, try my best. Do I make mistakes? Sure. But I have no ill will towards anybody. So, yeah, it sucks when people try to judge you without even knowing you. You know, I got a lot of good comments in the article, and some ones that doubt who I am or doubt what I do and call it BS, you know. And I'll cover some of those right now.
It's just like I'm doing the same job.
So, for example, one comment was, how does an English teacher do that? They don't make enough money over there. No, you can. Look, the average English teacher's salary is a little bit less than it was before. I mean, 200, 250 is normal now. I mean, when I was started, it was like 250 to 300. And I started at Juku at 270. Well, didn't start. It's not my first job, but that was when the ball started rolling in Japan. I've had other 250 jobs earlier on. But 270 was my Juku job in 2004 it was. And I made 270 and I eventually got a raise up to 300,000 because I worked hard, cut the line of students, you know. And yeah, I had my privates as well, so I was making about 350-ish. And of course you could save. It's pretty good money considering Japan's not that expensive, you know. And I was pretty frugal with my money. Made it last and I saved. You know, and my first property I actually got a loan for, so I had the money to get the down payment and whatever bank fees, stuff like that. Actually, I didn't even have down payment. Bank fees were like 1.5 million yen, so I still had my savings set aside, which I used to pay off some of the mortgage and start an English school. And that's when I quit my Juku job 4 years in. You know, I loved working for that Juku. It was a great job. 300,000 yen for 27 hours a week, which was decent salary at the time, you know. Still is. But, you know, had to move on. So I started my own school, and of course I was getting less money. But at least I was able to dictate my own future. So after about 4 or 5 years doing that, I built that up to about 350 to 450 in salary, but on my own terms and my own schedule. So I was my own boss. It was fun. Of course, I had some pitfalls doing that too. You know, business is not easy. You can, I'll be straight up. The teacher I hired stole half my students, so I had to start from scratch. Yeah, there are horrible people out there. Yep. Yeah. So that's what happened that's what happened. I was living in my condo that I just bought, and the teacher stole my students in 2009. It was half my students, so I had to start from scratch. I was down to like 1,000 yen income. So, and I had savings obviously, so I could keep up on my mortgage payments, no problem. But I just figured, why bother? So I rented it out, and I moved into a one room near my school just to build it up from scratch again, which I did from 2009 until now. But 2013 I had enough money saved up, and that's when I bought my actual first house, and my school was starting to roll better and better each year. So yeah, so that in the article it says something about rent free, and that's what that means. So basically I had my house, I was renting out my condo, and which covered my loan, and I paid for a house cash 2013. So I was the first actual one I didn't have any rent, so it was even easier to save after that. What paid? Maybe I should type kick assets in here. Kick assets, shing. Just kidding, I wouldn't do that. Anyhow, yeah. So, yeah, 2013 I had my first house, and then of course things snowballed from there. And then because exponentials is such a powerful world, that the longer you work hard at it, the easier it gets in the future. And it really started to snowball. I mean, the first few years was, I don't want to say struggling, but you know, it just takes more time. So, but yeah, that's what happened. So anyhow, so yeah, you can do it on English salary, and you know, if I worked my ass off, I could probably make more teaching English. But you know, I valued my time as well, because I was able to program on things and work on my housing and reforming. So I appreciated having my own schedule. So, but if you really, really worked hard, like one of my friends, he makes over 800,000 yen a month teaching English. So yeah, tell me you can't do it. You got to think outside the box, work hard, and stick at it. You can build, especially if you're willing to commit the time. An English salary is actually pretty decent considering it's such an easy job to get into at first. What you do is up to you. There can be a ceiling if you just stick at the same job, but you have to add it to yourself. A, privates, B, starting your own school, or C, getting enough Japanese ability and stuff to work in a university or somewhere higher. Because I know a lot of teachers will make big money as well. It's just the average teacher makes less. And unfortunately, because there's a lot of people coming from other countries in the Western world, the salaries get dampened a little bit. So it is what it is. But it's still possible. So it is possible. You know? Another comment, I must have started with wealth or whatever. No. I grew up in the projects. I started with fuck all. Sorry. I had to work my ass off. I guess that's what gave me the character to be able to do this, to be honest. Because if it wasn't for that work ethic and that attitude, I don't know if I can make it. And yeah, so I started with that. And it's worked and worked and worked, saved and built it up. So yeah, no, I'm not like rich guy coming in buying outside investor. I live locally. I give back to the local public. You know, I bring in foreigners at affordable rents so they can live there and put towards the local economy, which is great. There's no negative stuff towards that. Not raising up prices. Jeez. And don't forget, Japan, there are a lot of empty houses, okay, in the suburbs and in the countrysides, even some in the city, but not that many, not as many. And there are just a lot of houses, not like Vancouver here where I am now, where there's a lack of housing and they don't even build them. They're so slow. You know, you come to that problem. So Japan and Vancouver are just totally different markets. So for all the haters on that side, just forget about that idea, because it's nothing like Vancouver, okay? I mean, let's put it this way. If I sold all my properties in Japan and I came here, I couldn't even buy one property here. Or a house, anyway. It's like, give me a break. We're looking at millions of dollars here. It's stupid. It's just ridiculous. So, yeah. It's a different world. Like all those high-rises over there. You can go out in the middle of nowhere where there's no transportation and still have $1 million house. That's how ridiculous it is. Like Abbotsford or Chilliwack. It's super far. You need a car. You do that in Japan, you're gonna find a house for peanuts. So yeah, it's beautiful out here, isn't it? Oh, here comes the dog. Is he gonna eat me alive? Uh-oh. Hey, buddy. Huh. No leash, huh? What a cutie. Yeah. So, yeah, sorry, back to what I was saying. So yeah, it's a different market, Vancouver and Japan. Not even the same, not even close. Will it go up and crazy in Japan? I'm sure it'll rise a little bit because the whole world's being inflated at the moment. But nothing crazy. And the cities are always going to be expensive. I mean, if you compare Tokyo to Japan, if you compare Tokyo to New York, or Tokyo to Vancouver, Tokyo's a big city, but yet somehow it's cheaper than both those cities, which makes no sense, because it's not like the population is declining in those big cities, you know. In fact, there's probably more people moving to Tokyo than there are the other cities, because a lot of people are moving from the countrysides into the big city for work, so they're developing, that's for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not some shady dude, some rich guy coming in. I'm just some normal dude who worked his ass off to get where he is. So hopefully I explained myself that you can trust me now. Anyhow, let's go over the article together and we'll see what they have to say about me. Because the article was okay. It wasn't bad. Alright, let's check it out. By the way, this is the Canby Street Bridge. Alright, so here's the Japan Inside article that they wrote on me without even talking to me or my consent. So, it is what it is. Let's see what they have to say. Collins, a Canadian expat, transformed an English teacher to a successful real estate investor. Japan over 10 years, acquiring 10 properties without mortgages. His journey began with purchasing Tokyo property in 2007. Okay, that's accurate. Which he rented out to live rent-free elsewhere. I don't know what that means. Basically, after 2007, I lived in my condo for a bit until I realized I didn't really need that much space. And I wanted to be closer to my English school that I started in Saitama. So I rented a one-room out in Saitama. And around 2010-ish. And basically was saving all the years cash. And of course, to get my condo, I got a loan for that. So I only needed a little cash to get started on that. And eventually by 2013, was it? I had enough cash to buy my first actual house. Which could mean rent-free, because I didn't have a loan on it, so I lived there without a mortgage or a loan. It was all cash, so meaning I didn't have any rent. So assuming they meant that. So there's a 5-6 year span there between property number 1 and property number 2. And of course, as you buy more properties and you rent out the other ones, you can make your money back faster. It's not an exact science, but that's how exponential numbers work. It's a very powerful word, that word, exponential. Collins' success stems from his ability to identify undervalued properties. True. Particularly those under 10 million yen. True. And his willingness to invest in and renovate abandoned houses. Akiya. That's too vague for them. They just want to jump on their clickbait stuff with that. Akiya. Because normal properties in Saitama aren't specifically Akiya. They've been open for a few months. Maybe up to a year at the most. But they're just normal properties. I mean, in my first 10, I didn't buy any Akiya. My actual Akiya in the countryside, which have been abandoned for years, or have old people who died and their children don't want the houses anymore and they just want to sell them, those didn't come until the end, after house number 10. So it's a different ball game. People want to sum up this stuff too easily, and it's not easily summed up, to be honest. I mean, let's be honest here. A lot of these articles just want to make money off of clickbaits. While my story so far is accurate, they still want to sum it up quickly and get people excited. But it's not quite true. So, his willingness to invest in and renovate abandoned houses, Akiya. Yes, I was willing to invest in properties that needed some work, and I fixed them up the best I can, and I gave people homes. I provided housing for people who needed it, especially foreigners who have a difficult time renting in Japan. One, because Japanese tend to sway away from foreigners. Not all, but there are some that do. It's just they don't want to deal with you because it's harder for them, and they don't want to deal with any problems. And I get that, because foreigners, if they run, what can you do? It's hard to collect their rent when they're in a different country, and they don't speak the language, so that's an issue. It's not that they don't like you, they're just avoiding hassles. And two, another thing is pets. A lot of my tenants have pets, and to find a place in Japan, foreigner or not, that allows pets is tough, especially 2 and above. So I'm flexible on that. So helping foreigners and allowing pets, and also giving a decent deal compared to other people, and sometimes working directly with me, can help them save a lot of money. So it's a niche that I found. It's perfect. The perfect storm. Right place at the right time. He emphasizes the importance of Japanese language fluency and culture understanding for navigating the real estate market effectively. Yes, that's 100% true. Correct. It's very important to speak the language and to understand the culture and your neighbors and how to get along with everybody. And like I said previously, Japanese don't really want foreigners because a lot of foreigners might not want to adjust to that, and they don't want to be the cause to problems in the neighborhood. Even as simple as the things can be, they just don't have the confidence, because some foreigners tend to do what they want and like to argue. In Japan, we want to avoid these things. You know, of course there's selfish people in Japan all the time, Japanese included. But you have to do your best to work it out. Collins' approach involves careful negotiation, yes, building relations with agents and sellers, for sure, and capitalizing on Japan's unique rental culture that prioritizes long-term tenant relationships over maximizing profits. I guess what they're trying to say here is that I don't care about money as much as I do care about my tenants, which is, obviously I'm in it to make money and protect my future and my investments. Instead of playing the stock market or other things, I'd rather do this because I'm making money, plus I'm actually giving a service that people need. And you don't make a fortune quickly, but you can make money over time, and you provide housing that a lot of people need. So yeah, I prefer long-term tenants for sure. I don't do Airbnb and would never consider that. I've been approached about it before and I refused. I'd rather take a cut on the profits to get long-term tenants that actually appreciate living in my houses, you know. And most of my tenants have been very good so far, so I do appreciate that. Not everybody, but not everyone, but enough to make it fun. So far the tenants have been okay. Yeah, so maximizing profits, it's just, yeah, getting the most I can, as long as I can. It's not really worth thinking about. It's just too much stress, and yeah, why would you focus on that? I'd rather focus on making people happy, and a lot of my tenants have been happy, and they recommend other people, you know, and it keeps the ball rolling. And so far it's been so good. So yeah, the God's will or universe will, whatever you have, it's been working out. So I'm just going to go along with that and keep the positive thinking going. No need to be negative here. His experience highlights the potential for foreign investors in Japan's real estate market, particularly given the country's relatively undervalued property prices compared to other major Asian cities. Other major Asian cities? Try any city in the world. Japan right now is very undervalued. Well, I prefer it to be like that. It's affordable. It means rent is affordable, buying is affordable. It means at any stage in your life you can get by. You can rent a one-room place for $500, sometimes less, depending where you are. You can rent a one room for $400 or $500, or even less sometimes, depending what city you're in or how far you are out. Which gives options, so you can rent cheap or you can rent really expensive, and buy cheap or buy expensive. It's up to you. There's options. Unlike other cities in the world, like Vancouver, which I'm in now, prices here are ridiculous. There are no cheap options. You got share houses where Japanese are sharing rooms in one house for $1,000 a month. It's ridiculous. There's 7 people in a house, each getting their own room, $1,000 each. I can rent you an entire house for that price in Japan. 30 minutes from the busiest city in the world. Go figure, huh? So North America's stuck in a Ponzi scheme right now. Well, Japan is, I like to say fair, but actually I do feel it's a little bit undervalued in some areas. Like you get some really good deals. I mean, it's got room to go up 10%, 20%, and still be great. I mean, it's ridiculous. When you can buy a used house for cheaper than a new car, then you know something's wrong, okay? A new car should not be more expensive than a house. Your house should be more expensive. So for now, I'm just appreciating it. And because there are a lot of empty houses in the countryside, there's a lot of options for people to re-beautify cities and add more population to them and keep them going, because some cities are dying and they need people to keep them going. Reinvigorate is the word I'm looking for. So I think that's a cool thing to keep in mind, and I really hope that other foreigners can come and do what I do, but I hope they're really good people and understand you just can't come here and buy up all the properties like happened in Vancouver with a lot of investors that come over, rich investors from maybe like China, or say just come over here and buy everything up and have empty suites and don't care about the locals, and it affects the market, you know, because they're not producing a lot of houses here and there's no overstock of housing and they're not keeping up, so it screws everything over. Plus the fact that a lot of foreigners overvalue their properties. Like, come on, man. Some of the houses here, the land is over $1 million and the houses like from 100 years ago, and they're still valuing that? No, I don't think so. But that's the mentality of it. And the Japanese are the opposite. They undervalue. You can get a okay looking house and they'll think it's a piece of junk in Japan because it's not new. A lot of Japanese have the new mentality. So I can look at a 30, 40-year-old house and say, hey, it's still got a lot of potential. It's not really that old comparatively. So, yeah, it's just a mentality difference, unfortunately, and there's nothing you can do about that. Just appreciate it. And when I say that, it doesn't mean everyone, okay? It just means on average it seems to be that way. There are some overvalued or overpriced properties when I'm looking on the market, and there's a lot of average ones, and there's some undervalued ones. You just got to know when to strike and which ones have good value to them, you know. So as for this article, I didn't ask them to write it. It's okay written. I'm happy with it. Like I would appreciate it. I would have appreciated if they actually interviewed me or talked to me first before doing stuff like this. And I'm assuming they watched my videos or got my info from somewhere. But yeah, it might sound fake to some people on there, but it's not. It's most of this is pretty true. Of course, they're going to over-exaggerate some things to make it look really good, so they get a lot more clicks. But no, it does sound crazy. But I was able to pull off 9 houses after I bought number 2. Yeah, because 2013 I bought number 2, and by the time 2023 kicked around, I had 10. So yeah, very doable. It did take a lot of work and sacrifice. It's not easy. I had to, work as much as I could teaching English. I wasn't making $250. I was making $270 to start. Plus, I had some privates. Eventually, got up to like $300,000 a month at my Juku job in my final year working there, and also privates. So I was pulling in just over $300,000 a month, and 300,000 yen a month. And I was just good at saving. I did my best. Buy only what I need, and be frugal. Don't waste money, and just save as much as I could, because I had a goal I wanted to reach. And to get a little higher in my income, I had to quit my Juku and start my own school, which I did. Which is why I eventually moved to a 1-room, because I was living in my condo when I was working at the Juku, which I did for 4 years. But basically, starting my own school. Obviously, it was tough at first, but in the end, I started making maybe 350, occasionally 400,000 yen a month. So, yeah. But you just got to keep at it, and it wasn't easy, And the more properties I got, the more I was able to save quicker, so which enabled me to get this next property a lot quicker. And that's just how it is. It's the truth of the matter. So no, this is not BS, even though some of the comments say so. You got some love and hate. Let me see what I got here for this Canadian expat bought 10 Akiya houses in Japan, turned them into cash flow rental properties with no mortgages. Yeah, okay, get the clickbait titles out of the way. Wow, 1.7k reactions. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we got 1.3k likes, 180 hates or angries, and 150 loves, and a few others. So, yeah, it's pretty good. Obviously, there's got to be some jealous people out there who just don't understand it. I say this to be clear. The market in Japan is very different than the Western countries. So don't think of me as some rich dude trying to scoop up all the properties here and make millions. It's a different market. There's still a lot of room for a lot of people to come over. So, please don't overthink it. The Marxist ways, not so good. Even though on paper they sometimes seem like they could be. Just kidding. So anyhow, I got a lot of impact here. It's pretty cool, and it keeps growing. So I appreciate the 1.3 likes and loves. So that's yeah. 10% hates. What can I do? Guess it's to be expected. Interesting stuff, isn't it? Okay.